Etiquette, Daniel Manning with Japan Forward. I'm here today in my everyday attire, and I'm joined in the studio today by Dr. Sheila Cliffe. Dr. Cliffe is a researcher of kimono, all-around style icon, and today she's going to be walking us through the wonderful world of kimono. So, Dr. Cliffe, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, just to start off with, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I came here almost 40 years ago, and I intended to stay for the summer, and then I extended and extended, met kimono, and then the rest is history. um, I've always liked fashion, so when I started going into kimono shops and looking at all these fabrics and beautiful garments, I was totally blown away. And I found what I thought was a kimono in an antique market, and it was bright red, most amazing color. The depth of the red and the shine of the silk and the softness of it. I bought it and I took it home and I told someone, I bought a kimono, and they said, oh, show me. And they said, that's not a kimono, that's an underwear. And I'm like, what? What is this clothing system where you have the most amazingly beautiful item and it's underwear and you never see it? And I was totally hooked.
Okay, so was that like your sort of road to Damascus moment? Like this is when you realized that kimono was for you?
Yes, I think it was. And I started learning how to dress, which took lessons.
Mm.
And I started also taking lessons in stencil dyeing as well. And just, I was fascinated by the whole thing.
Okay, so um, how would you define kimono? I mean, I don't mean like, take out the Webster dictionary and define it, but I mean, for you personally, what does kimono mean?
The actual, um, the actual meaning of the word is just thing to wear. And for me, it's Japanese fashion. It's what Japanese wore all the time up until the beginning of the last century, and half of Japanese women continued to wear it up until 1950. So it's Japanese clothing, and anything inside Japanese clothing is part of kimono, thing to wear.
Okay, so I mean, looking at you, you obviously have a very individual sort of aesthetic with your kimonos. But my image of kimonos is there's kind of, very set patterns, set designs, set colors. So how do you go about creating your own individual style? How would anybody go about doing that?
I think first I want to address the first part of what you said. The the kind of Western idea has been that kimono is traditional clothing and therefore it doesn't change. But actually, if we look at the history of kimono, it's always been changing. And um, we don't see it because in Western fashion, clothing, fashion change is about changing shape. And it's not
Mm.
with the kimono. It's still a fashion system, but it's not the shape that changes. It's other things, the techniques used in decorating the kimono, or the placing of the design, or the actual design that's on the kimono. So kimono's always been changing. And then for me, I always think, I mean, I dress for myself,
Mm.
but I always think about where I'm going. And sometimes I specifically want to make something that reflects the season, or sometimes I want to make something that is specifically related to the person I'm going to meet or the occasion that I'm going to. And then I decide in my mind, well, today, do I want to be sharp, or do I want to look like Audrey Hepburn, like a movie star, or what kind of image do I want to make? And then I start putting things together.
Okay. Um, I know you can't really see it here, but you've got a very cool set of pink Doc Martens on right now. Um, it adds a little bit of a punky edge, I think, to your design. So I don't know, are you a fan of punk at all?
I am, yeah, and Northern Soul and other kind of things like that. But uh, well, this is a news station, and I wanted to do something with kimono, but that also reflects today's generation. Yeah.
Okay. Just on the topic of punk, Brian James from The Damned, very famous English punk band, he passed away today.
Oh,
Yes.
that's sad news.
Yeah. Getting back on track.
I,
So, from region to region in Japan, do you find that the motifs or the designs in kimono design vary greatly?
um, there are some regional designs that are very specific. For example, if you see like seagulls on a kimono, that is almost certainly from Okinawa.
Okay.
So there are some things like that, but rather more than the designs, you see specific kinds of dyeing or weaving that come from that particular place, which is really fascinating. It means that kimono is joined to nature and comes from a specific place, which is the exact opposite of fast fashion. Nobody knows where it's come from or where it's going to. But for example, there's a specific dye and mordant in Amami Oshima, which produces this very lovely, rich brown color. And so it's called Doro Oshima, Mud Oshima, and they dye it and well mordant it. They dye it in a kind of tree bark and then mordant it by dipping it in these mud pools about 40 times till you get this incredible color from all the iron in the mud. So that comes specifically from that place because of that geology. And then there are other kimono that come from a specific place because there's a specific plant dye there, or because there's a specific plant that grows that you can turn into thread. So there are lots and lots of regional variations. Fantastic. It's so amazing.
Okay, so even for somebody like me who doesn't really know very much about kimono, I can kind of see now, like when I go out into the streets, that more and more young people are kind of adopting elements of kimono, if not outright, just wearing kimono as everyday wear now. So, are there any particular trends that you've noticed recently?
Um, it's become increasingly popular to like wear kimono over Western clothes. And there's an influencer called Sankaku who does a lot of videos on Instagram where she dresses on top of Western clothes. And therefore, boots or shoes are becoming more popular with kimono, and shirts with like a polo neck that show here at the wrists. That's becoming very popular. This kind of obi, uh, craftsman made out of leather, is also becoming pretty popular. The last big kind of event called Kimono Salone, which is every autumn in Yuracho International Forum, where like about 100 different makers come from all over Japan. Had about 4 or 5 different makers who were selling these obi, and it really drops the hurdle because many people say that it's the obi that's really difficult and stops them from wearing kimono.
Okay.
But it also looks kind of cool, doesn't it? A little bit edgy.
It does, and that's actually what I wanted to ask. How did you design this obi, or where did you get it from? Because I mean, the impact is it's a very strong has a very strong impact and looks super cool. So where did you get it?
Um, so the company, oh, blast, I've forgotten the name. um, the company comes from Osaka,
Okay,
and they've been doing these in a men's version and a women's version. They have a selection of different leathers, different colors. You can choose the stitching that you want on it. Um, I didn't want like 3 buckles at the front, so they said,
okay,
okay, we'll make you one with 2, and they made it to the width I wanted, and yeah. I think it's onyo. It's called onyo.
okay.
Yeah. very nice, craftsman made. So
Okay.
yes.
So, for beginners, or say for somebody like me who doesn't know anything about kimono, like if I tried putting on kimono myself, like I would end up, looking like the Big Lebowski with his dressing gown, going out to buy a pint of milk. So, like, do you have any tips for beginners, like how to get into it, or are there any like shops that you would recommend, particularly for beginners?
Um, well, when you start out, I recommend that you go and look on YouTube because there are a whole lot of videos there on how to dress. And uh, I think men's kimono is really pretty simple. For the underwear, the nagajuban, you just tie one tie and then another tie for the kimono. And uh, probably the most difficult thing is the obi, but you're wearing an easy tie obi today.
It wasn't easy today. For me, like who's never worn a kimono before, like
But a little bit of practice before you go out, as long as you always have the left side over the right side, that's very important. Uh, it's not the difference between men and women, it's the difference between alive or dead, so it's very significant. And then I would say, start off by mixing it with Western clothes. If the underwear is difficult for you, then just wear a shirt underneath it and just do the kimono layer. Today we've done 3 layers, the underwear, the kimono, and the haori, but you could limit that to 1 and make it easier. And if the obi was too difficult, you can use one of these.
I'll bear that in mind next time.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be difficult at all. There's a misconception.
Right.
Yeah, and that was purposely made by the kimono institutions to get everyone to take lessons and spend lots of money.
That's some marketing ploy.
Yes, yes, but it's separated free people from kimonos.
Okay.
Now with the internet and everyone being able to talk to each other, that's kind of people are realizing that there are easier alternatives and that they can get into kimono without A, spending a lot of money, or B, taking a lot of expensive lessons.
Okay. So like, is there ever any time like you go out and you see people wearing kimono and I don't know, they've mistied something or they're miswearing something like, and you just go, oh my God, like what are you doing?
Um, yeah, there was once where I saw someone wearing, actually at a kimono sale, she was wearing the right side over the left side, and we couldn't see the pattern because it was the wrong way around. But none of the staff, Japanese staff, said anything. So I didn't say anything. But in that case, I really wanted to say something because it would have been embarrassing for her when she found out, if she did find out. But on the whole, I'm hands off. I want people to wear it and have a good time. So in the kimono world, we have what we call kimono police, which are busybody old ladies who
Okay.
go around tweaking things for people. And I actually had someone, I was actually working on a TV program at the time. I was teaching
Right.
people kimono, and I was sitting in a restaurant on a break. And some woman who wasn't wearing kimono, but she came up and she started putting her hands all over my body. And honestly, I felt like I'd have been assaulted. I wanted to cry.
Right.
And I hope that older people are encouraging to younger people and to beginners. Because whenever you start, you're a beginner and you don't do it well.
Mm.
But you have to be allowed not to do it well. If I told you you wear it in your jeans in a really crappy way, you would be insulted, but no one would do it because it wouldn't be polite to do that. You'd just look like a really nasty person.
Right.
So nobody has the right to tell you how to how to do it. Just wear it and enjoy it.
Okay. And so right now, like with all the changes that are going on in the kimono world now, um, are there any designs, any particular designs that you kind of have in your head you would like to see?
New designs I'd like to see. Well, I'd like to see new designs.
Okay,
There are some kimono makers who are still like going through the old thing, kachofugets, making very, very traditional things without actually thinking about what young people want to wear. But there are also like young designers in Tokyo who are putting some very interesting things on kimono, reviving kind of Edo period legends or samurai themes. Or the other day I was talking to someone in Shinjuku, and they'd made a Godzilla design kimono, and I think that's great. So let's bring popular culture into kimono more and more. That's what kimono has done historically, has absorbed the themes of the day. So
okay,
yeah, I'd like to see more fun things that young people are going to be interested in.
okay. So going forward, what's your ambition? Like, what is it you want to do now, like in the future in the kimono world?
Well, people have the idea, I think, that it's only in the big cities, and it has been, new fashion trends do start from big cities, from urban areas. But I want to go more and more into kind of remoter areas of Japan and encourage people there to wear kimono. In the autumn last year, I went to Toyama, and they put on a kimono party, an event with junior high school girls, and they did a mini Sheila style fashion show, and it was so much fun. All the girls had such a good time, and local people came and watched them, and the local newspaper came, and the party that they put on in the evening, which was kind of buffet and disco party, we had so much fun, and more than 70 people came. So it's not true that only people in urban areas are interested. So I'd really like to go to more outlying areas and spread kimono joy and happiness to those places too.
Okay, so one thing we do on this show is we get each guest to ask a question for the next guest on the show. So our last guest, he didn't know our next guest was going to be you, but the question he wanted to ask you was, have you ever faced any hurdles or have you ever encountered any difficulties in the kimono industry or just with life in Japan?
Um, Well, I'm a public figure, so sometimes I'm on TV, or I my face is out there on my Instagram, and sometimes there are negative comments, of course, and those are a little bit upsetting. But I've learned to uh, kind of ignore them. If there's some kind of uh, critical comment that is could be seen in a positive way and help me up my game, then I'll take that. But if it's just, you're messing up kimono, go back to your country, and then I'm not interested. I think I've been, working for years to try and revive and increase interest in this wonderful culture, textile and kimono fashion heritage that Japan has. So that's one thing. And the other thing is uh, I really am working on publishing a piece of research I did where I visited 50 different women and recorded what they had in their wardrobes, uh, which was a lot of very, very interesting kimono and some wonderful stories. It's a kind of ethnographic project, and I'd really like to publish that.
Okay, looking forward to that anyway. But so finally, do you have any question that you would like to ask our next guest, whoever that may be?
I think an interesting question would be, what do you think is a good attitude or way of thinking that helps you to be successful in Japan?
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Cliff. Thank you for watching. This was 20 Minutes with Sheila Cliff.